بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين رب السماوات والأرضين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين سيما مولانا بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء إن شاء الله. Well, almost 1/3 of month of Ramadan is gone, but alhamdulillah we still have 2/3 remaining, and we ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He accept our amal, our deed, inshallah, Quran, dua, salat, all good deeds we do, and give us tawfiq to attain and achieve as much as possible ma'anaviyat and closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Good doers, they're always safe. People, they do things, they live for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the niyat of qurbatan ilallah, and they work hard and they try hard, and their effort is always in the maximum amount is pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they don't seek their own pleasure or pleasure of people living around. They are safe because they always behind the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those who act according to orders of Allah, recommendations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are safe. And many times Quran reminds us, people of faith, people of taqwa, people of who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are not equal with those they are not close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's an ayah, Surah Al-Imran, ayah number 162, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ رِضْوَانَ اللَّهِ كَمَنْ بَاءَ بِسَخَطٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ. Is it equal? Are these two groups of equal people? They follow the ridwan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're always behind the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With those, they always grab the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are not similar. Group of people, they are always, intention is always, remember that beautiful hadith of Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, where he said, why some people, they are going to live forever in Jahannam, in hellfire, and why some people are going to live forever in Jannah. The difference is in their intentions. People of Jannah, their niyat was, if I would live in this planet for more than 1,000,000 years, oh Allah, that's going to be your decision always, and I'm going to follow you, and I'm going to be servant of you, and what you decide for me, that is going to be my track. They are true people, the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are a group of people at the bottom of their heart or in their intention is always their own ego. They say, what I understand, what I know, what I do, I go with my own opinion, I don't care about anyone else, including Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are different people. We have to have this mind. If we do things, if we act in a way that our actions are taking us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or towards His pleasure, we are safe. أَفَمَنِ اتَّبَعَ رِضْوَانَ اللَّهِ كَمَنْ بَاءَ بِسَخَطٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَمَأْوَاهُمْ جَهَنَّمُ بِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. People, they are always grabbing Allah's wrath, His anger. They are not going to save. They have to face Jahannam وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ, and that's a completely tough direction for them, and the hellfire, the end is very sad for them. But people of pleasures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are always seeking the pleasure, they are safe. There are some certain ways we can get the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A few of them we discussed in few last nights. One of the thing is very important according to the beautiful hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salatu wassalam, where Imam Ali, Amir al-Mu'minin, is saying طاعته إن الله تبارك وتعالى أخفى رضاه في طاعته. Allah has, He hide His pleasure, His rida into something, into His ta'at, into His following. So there's two things. Number one is following of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the next thing is His pleasure. Things or deeds make Him agree with us. What is that? إن الله تبارك وتعالى أخفى رضاه في طاعته. He hide His pleasure into ta'at, into following. And we have a lot of following of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have lots of wajibat and muharramat and mustahabbat and makruhat and lots of ahkam and His orders. And His pleasure is hidden in those orders. What we have, what we received with the medium of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then Amir al-Mu'minin is saying, فَلَا تَسْتَغِرَنَّ شَيْئًا مِّن طَاعَتِهِ فَرُبَّمَا وَافَقَ رِضَاهُ وَأَنْتَ لَا تَعْلَمُ. Then do not miss ta'at of Allah, following of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every deed. Because you don't know, maybe His pleasure was hidden in that deed. So we have a bunch of orders from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have a bunch of recommendations from Quran and Rasul and Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salatu wasalam, and they informed us that these are recommendations. We have to fulfill those recommendations, and we have to follow the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In those orders, Quran says, Imam Ali is saying, do not miss any one of His following, because you don't know, maybe there is something hidden in it. In that following, maybe pleasure of Allah was there, and you were seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you missed it. So don't miss any one of His following. It's a very beautiful criteria according to Amir al-Mu'minin. If we're really seeking ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are really seeking something with doing that, we can attain Allah's pleasure. So we are not going to miss. We have lots of things. We don't have to count it. Well, if I ask you how much are they, you might don't count more than 10, 20, 30. But by nature, by knowledge, by the experience, we know there's a plenty of ahkam, there's a plenty of mustahabbat, there's a plenty of recommendations. And if we really become eager to know it, attain it, what are those topics, there is much more than that. Even though we can use our mubahat, the deeds, there is no direction, right? Because our deeds, some of them are mustahabbat, some are makruhat, some are wajibat, and some are muharramat, some are mubah. Mubah deeds, there's no direction. It's your choice. You want to do this way or that way. Even though a moment seek pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His mubah deeds. In the deeds, there's no direction. He creates direction into the deeds. There is no direction towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no recommendations. He says, no, it's up to you. Do this or do that. Totally you are free. If we are smart, we are going to seek pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into deeds. There's no direction. If you're smart. Because mustahabbat is always told to you. It's recommended by Ahlul Bayt and by Rasulullah. Wajibat is already appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We cannot go against that. Muharramat is as well. We have to protect ourselves. But muhabba, in the field of mubahat, the deeds, there is no direction. We can create a big pleasure for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we can reach to the highest maqam of ma'rifat. Because the goal in Islam, why we follow all this fiqh? Why the fiqh? Why there's a mustahabbat? Why there's a makruhat? Why there's a wajib? Why there's a haram? Why all those deeds? There has to be some goal in it. There has to be something in it. Because of that we are following it. If there's nothing in these, then why are you following it? So there is a track introduced to us. We have to. And this track is taking us towards ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we are not going to reach to that level unless we follow the teachings of Ahlul Bayt and the teachings of Quran. And beside all these things, Quran says, your religion, your faith is not going to be against your intellect. So what we have in Islam, it is all according to intellect accepted. Our intellect is not going to deny it. Intellect is going to accept it. So our intellect is going to support us in this way. And this is the best point. We know we are living in a faith, we are living in a religion that my intellect is always and also backing me. And this is the beauty of religion. This is the beauty of Islam. You're not going to find anything which goes against your intellect. No, everything, every hukm, every recommendation, all wajibat and muharramat and makruhat and mustahabat, somehow your aql, your intellect is going to support it. And this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He has made this religion compatible to us. Or our intellect is compatible with our following, with our faith and with our ma'rifat. So the goal is reaching to the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ma'rifah. There's another hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam where it says, وَأَوْصَاكُمْ بِالتَّقْوَى وَجَعَلَهَا مُنْتَهَى رِضَاهُ وَحَاجَتَهُ مِنْ خَلْقِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recommends you taqwa, means always put yourself in the shield. That shield, the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you protect in this shield that you protect yourself, that you are not going to face haram, you are not going to touch haram, you are not going to cross the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with this, وَأَوْصَاكُمْ بِالتَّقْوَى وَجَعَلَهَا مُنْتَهَى رِضَاهُ. And if you want to achieve the highest pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, muntaha rida means the highest pleasure of Allah. If we want to reach that level, we have to always remain and keep ourselves into this part, into the part of taqwa, into this shield. And until the time we are protected and we are safe in this shield, we are going to slowly reach to the highest maqam, and that highest possible stage for us into this life, in this life, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is that we reach to the level where we can grab the pleasure of Allah. He says, yes, I am angry with you, O my servant. And that's the best place. And in this part, Allah says, in this beautiful hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen, that do not go for your needs to the people. No, Allah is sufficient for you and He is going to fulfill your needs. You don't have to. If you keep yourself away from people, whatever you need, He will support you and He will make you away. And this is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first thing is, we are not going to miss out of Allah, the following of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we don't know, maybe His pleasure is hidden in that deed. And if we miss beside doing this deed, we might do 100 other deeds. But the pleasure was hidden in something else. So we have to do all the deeds. And beside doing all the deeds, we have to achieve two things. Number one, we have to keep ourselves away from the people and whatever they have. We have to close eyes from those things, and we have to walk through our own track. As I've been discussing here, that everybody has his own track towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of us, individually, we have our own personal relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot copy my track, and I cannot copy your track. Everybody has his own track to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a thing. In a hadith Qudsi, one of the Anbiya asked from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, "O Allah, how we know that, how we are going to seek your pleasure? What is the way?" Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O Allah ta'ala ila Musa salamullah alayhi, inna ridaya fi ridaka biqada'i." Well, I have given to you something in this life. I have given to you. And if you're seeking more than that, what you have in your hand, that means you are not behind me. You're still behind your own belongings. You're still behind your own life. But if you are content, if you are radi, if you are content on what you have already given by me in this life, because of being content, you can spend your time with me or for my goal or for my matter a lot. But if you make yourself busy with making your belongings or for increasing your belongings, that means you are going to be or remain away from what I want from you. What I want from you. Simple thing. أوحى الله تعالى إلى موسى سلام عليه إن رضايا في رضاك بقضائي. If you are looking for my pleasure, O Musa, if you're seeking my pleasure, then my pleasure is in what? Is in something what I have given to you. If you agreed and you content what you have in your hands, well, try your hard. Increase your business, increase your job, increase your life. Well, go ahead, no problem at all. Increase everything you have around you. increasing your wealth, no problem. But if you put all of your efforts into increasing your belongings and you don't care about what I have given to you, and you are not content and you keep blaming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what I have is less and I have to do more and more and more, this is not acceptable. Allah says, no, if you're looking for my pleasure, you have to come in this way, that you have to become content what you have, and beside that, keep doing best as you can. Just go ahead and make your life better every day, improve your life. But you should know that what is your need and your necessities is always given to you, is provided to you by subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who? Allah. Someone is most highest. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always provided you everything. You don't need these things we have to do in order to achieve Allah's pleasure subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's say we want to judge ourselves at the end of Ramadan, after passing 30 days, 29 days, and now we want to judge ourselves where we are standing now in this roadmap after this long time, after these 30 days, and I have done whatever I have done in my life, and by the end of month, where I am standing and what is my status, how we are going to judge ourselves. What is the criteria? How we are going to judge ourselves? Are we standing in the right place? Or no, we're still missing something. We're still behind. What is the criteria? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Well, in another hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Anbiya, or one of the Anbiya, asked from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the Anbiya asked from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rabbi akhbirni an ayati ridaka an abdik. Ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, please give me the alama, hint. What is the sign of your pleasure, that you agree with me? Well, all of us, we want to know that. Oh Allah, are you agree with me or not? This is a simple question. We all want to know that. Nabi asked from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Rabbi akhbirni an ayati ridaka an abdik. What is the alamat, what is the sign of your pleasure, that you agreed with us, you like us, you loved us, and you still فَأَوْحَى اللَّهُ تَعَالَى إِلَيْهِ. In return, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replied to him, إِذَا رَأَيْتَنِي أُهَيِّئُ عَبْدِي لِطَاعَتِي وَأَصْرِفُهُ عَنْ مَعْصِيَتِي فَذَلِكَ آيَةٌ رِضَاي. When you see what you see, إِذَا رَأَيْتَنِي أُهَيِّئُ عَبْدِي لِطَاعَتِي. When you see that I am preparing my abd, my servant, for my ibadat. So when you are preparing, following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, preparing yourself, you're getting ready to follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is not based on your own decision, it's a tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you have generated an energy, you have generated an ability. And now you're ready to follow the path of Allah, whatever, in wajibat and ibadat ma'thura or ghayr ma'thura, maybe mubah amal. But you're looking for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're just drinking water, there's no direction in it. But you said you want to drink in a way that you know with this drinking water, you're going to create or make a credit with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your account. So you drink water in a way, it's mubah amal, but you earn something from this. Every single amal we do in our life, every single amal, just consider it as a unit. And from every single deed, from every single unit, we have to get some credit. We have to make some points, if you're smart. And if we can make points, if we can make credits for every single deed, we are successful. We are successful. Or if we just miss the deeds, each deed is a one unit. Every single deed, just consider it as a unit, and we have to make some credit from this unit, if you're smart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِذَا رَأَيْتَنِي أُهَيِّئُ عَبْدِي لِطَاعَتِي. When you see I'm preparing my servant for my worshipping me, and وَأَصْرِفْهُ عَنْ مَعْصِيَتِي. And if you see I am telling him, don't do this ma'asiyah, this sin, this mistake, this shortcoming. When Allah is putting in our heart that don't do this, well, mu'mineen, with the love and with the true love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a big question. Sometimes we say we really have love of Ahlul Bayt, we really have love of Sayyidul Shuhada, we have love of Rasulullah. We have love of Quran, but our actions showing something else, that is not going to be true love. If we have really true love, we are going to follow them. If we follow them in this following, if something happens, some problems happens, some issues occurs in this path, then Allah is going to stop us. If by mistake I am going to make some sin, He is going to put in my heart, no, don't do this. No, don't touch it. No, don't say it. All of a sudden you feel you should not say it, you should not do it, you should not do this deed, and you keep yourself away from that happening or from that deed. This is the love of Allah, and this is the response of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because I have been deciding my decisions always to Allah's side. Every single deed in my life, whatever I want to do, I make decisions. With every single decision I'm looking for pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If some time, some period of some sort of period happens, some time comes in my life where I might make some mistakes, and all of a sudden something comes in your heart, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, don't do it. So Allah is the fil waqi. In fact, Allah is preventing you from doing something. He's controlling you from doing something. And when He is controlling you from doing something and you are not doing things, this is the alamat of rida. This is one of the best things. That's how we can judge ourselves at the end of ibadat, at the end of life, at the end of month, at the end of day. We can judge always ourselves. We always can judge ourselves in what way we are living. If we are getting prepared for doing ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, following of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are in a safe hand, and we are invited. It is very famous when people go to ziyarat for Karbala, from Mashhad, from Ammar alayhi salatu salam. People say, it's an invitation, and they invited us, and now we are going. It is kind of fact. They invite you. When this thing comes in your heart, and now you want to pursue for your travel to go and visit Karbala or Imam Hussein or Imam Ali, or in Iran, Imam Raza alayhi salatu wasalam, there is an invitation according to this riwayat. When we are invited by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are going to stand up and we are going to take a stand for His ita'ah, for His following, and we are going to follow Him in every single deed. And when we follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah is going to protect us from doing things which is wrong. And this is the best way. At the end of all deeds, we can judge ourselves always in a way that Allah is with us or is not. If Allah is with us, if God and His pleasure is with us, we are always safe in safe hands, and we're always protected. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in our hand, we have no good relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then no, we are not in safe hands, and there's a problem. There's another hadith Qudsi where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَمَنْ عَمِلَ بِرْضَاءِ أُلْزِمْهُ سَلَاسَ خِصَالٍ وَأَعْرِفْهُ شُكْرًا لا يخالطه الجهل وذكرا لا يخالطه النسيان ومحبة لا يؤثر على محبة المخلوقين. There is another sign. Sign of what? Sign that proves that we are into the territory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He agrees with us, and He loves us, and we are safe into the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that, what is that? فَمَنْ عَمِلَ بِرَضَاءِ أُلْزِمْهُ صَلَاةً. If you are always looking for pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is going to give you three things. And this is the alamat, and this is the sign that you are in safe hands. You are protected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَرِّفْهُ شُكْرًا لَا يُخَالِطُهُ الْجَهِلِ. And then He is going to give you power of doing shukr. And you are going to be shakirin, among the shakirin. That means this being shakirin is not going to be associated with jahl, with ignorance. Well, most of the time when we do not do shukr, we are not thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is always due to our jahl, due to our ignorance. Ignorance of what? I am blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. most of the time, people are not, who are not thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's always because of their ignorance, because they're receiving blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they could not recognize it. Then this is from Allah, or this is myself, or this is my parents, or my community, or my job. No, what is in your hand? It's all coming from one source, and that is supported by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if one can realize the true source of blessings what he have in his hand, then he is going to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If one is thankful of what he has in his life, then he is safe and he is under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعَرِّفُهُ شُكْرًا لَا يُخَالِطُهُ الْجَهْلِ. Then Allah is going to introduce you shukr, being thankful, which is not going to associate it with the ignorance, with the jahl. وَذِكْرًا لَا يُخَالِطُهُ النِّسْيَانِ. And then always you are going to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single deed of your life, in every single moment of your life. When you always remind Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, always you live in the state of dhikr. Well, dhikr here is not the wordings that you have recite something. Well, why? Beside all this remembrance, you can recite something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make yourself aware that there you're living in the pleasure, in the watch of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in among his or around his manifestations. But in between, if you always remember on your mental status that you're always into the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the best way of remembrance. And if we have this, or if you're blessed with having this kind of remembrance, then we are not going to forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no nisyan. We never forget that Allah is not watching us and He is not with us. When we always consider that Allah is always with us, we are not going to make any mistake, because at the end we know, down the road we know that we cannot hide from Him, we cannot escape from Him. So this is the second quality. The first thing I am going to be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to be thankful, which is going to be based on my knowledge, not ignorance. The next thing, I am going to always, the person or the one who, mu'min, let's say, the mu'min or the Muslim who always live in the state of remembrance of Allah, always into the state of remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means he is not going to forget Allah. If he has no nisyan, is not going to forget Allah, then he is in safe hand. This is the second thing. وَعَرَّفَهُ شُكْرًا لَا يُخَالِطُهُ الْجَهْلُ وَلَا ذِكْرًا وَذِكْرًا لَا يُخَالِطُهُ النِّسْيَانُ وَمَحَبَّةً لَا يُؤْثَرُ عَلَى مَحَبَّةِ الْمَخْلُوقِينَ. And He is going to give you love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mahabbat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then no other love is going to have over control of this love. Allah's love is going to be always on the top, love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What happens in our usual life, in the practical life, we all love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a Muslim, as a mu'min, but thing happens sometime, and that and that is, sometimes we say, now here, let's do this something, because people are against this, and I have to have people with me. I want to keep people with me. I want to keep my community with me. I want to do this because I know that my community like this. If you know that, but you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wants something else, you are not going to behind the pleasure of people. This is the point here. What in this hadith Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, His mahabbat is going to be always on top. So you are going to give priority to your love and to your beloved one, who is on the top priority, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not going to say, no, I have to go do this for my wife, for my husband, for my children, for my community, and then I will take care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No, it's not going to happen. This is not a deal because I have more interest with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I have to go with Allah, and I have less interest with people, then I have to stay. This is the hadith of Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Some people worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of, as a tujjar, as a businessman, because they saw Allah's staying with Allah, associating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a more benefit. No, we have to have a love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. According to this hadith, if we have a true love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this love is going to remain always on the top of other loves. Love of everything. If we have these three qualities, we always We are always thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are always into the state of remembrance of Allah. As I always say, my brothers, sisters, remembrance of Allah is not a doing or act or action. It is a consciousness. So we have to attain this consciousness. We have to reach to that level of, while you are talking to someone else, while you're smiling to someone else, while you're doing something, doing some job, you're doing some business, whatever you're doing, you have to have a remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beside all the deeds. When we live always when we are blessed with these three things, being thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being always into the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah's love is always into our eyes, as Allah's love is always on the top of all other loves, then we are in safe hands. And this is the alama, and this is the ayah, or this is the sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remember us, and He loves us, and we are good. And then we have to do more and more to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, almost 1/3 of month is gone, and we still have plenty of remaining in our hand. Inshallah, Allah give us tawfiq to follow the track and path of Quran and Quranic values. At the end, inshallah ta'ala, we can achieve these things. We can achieve this quality of being thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can achieve this status of remembrance. We always remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we can achieve at the end of this month, inshallah ta'ala, that our love is always going to be for Allah, and this love is going to be always on the top of all other loves. Hubbud dunya, everything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is love of this world. May Allah give us and grant us this tawfiq to remain His love always on the top, inshallah ta'ala. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, O Allah, I ask you to forgive all of our sins. O Allah, I ask you to grant us tawfiq bihaqqi Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. O Allah, I ask you to free all human, especially believers, from all oppressions. O Allah, I ask you to relieve all mu'mineen or living under hardships. O Allah, I ask you to heal the life and health of mu'mineen, especially our ulama, maraji, scholars, and mu'mineen of this majlis. O Allah, I ask you to bless all mu'mineen and marhumeen of this majlis and all other marhumeen, inshallah. O Allah, I ask you to return of our Imam and enable us to serve our Imam bin Nabiyyi wa a'lih, rahimallahu man yaqra'ul